Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. An Odyssey station.
Good morning, Bay Area.
It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
It is the Pregame Show. Welcome in on this beautiful Friday in the Bay. You made it. Congratulations. Those of you still working on your break, tuning in. Those of you getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, the weekend, whatever you're doing. Appreciate you joining me here. Again, I am your host for the next hour, Joe Spadoni, here on the Pregame Show on 95.7 The Game. And we got a lot to discuss, not a lot of time to do it. So let's get started. You know the number, 888-957-9570 to call or text the Xfinity mobile text line, as well as stream us live on Twitch and YouTube all day right here on 95.7 The Game. And it's powered by First NorCal Credit Union, so just search 95.7 The Game on either platform. And ring that bell, like, subscribe. Every single video that you see, if it disconnects anything, just hit that like button. Spam it, if you will. We appreciate that. You can also listen via the Odyssey app. So download that Odyssey app. Favorite 95.7 The Game. It is free. It is fun. And you get not just your sports, not just your Niners, your Giants, your Warriors, but you got everything else. You got your sports, your politics. You got music. You got food, whatever you're into. So download that Odyssey app as well. Good morning to all of you on Twitch and YouTube. Jesus M. Buenos dias. Kyle Kelly. What up? We got a lot of Niners to talk today, folks. Giants off yesterday. They start a 3-game series with Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers coming into town. So on a Friday, you know what I ask. What are you doing this weekend? Anyone going to that game? Anyone going down to Vegas to watch the preseason game this Sunday at Allegiant Stadium? That is the question on a Friday. What are you doing on this Phil Collins Friday? Non-payday Friday, but a Friday nonetheless. Good morning, Raymond Salas. Appreciate you chiming in as well. 707 Twan, good morning to you. And good morning to Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy, who we're going to be hearing from shortly as the Raiders and Niners start their joint practices. They get another one today down in Henderson, Nevada. Not as chippy as I would like to see it. I didn't see a lot of fights in my X feed, not Twitter, my X feed. I didn't see a lot of scuffles. They were saying, cooler heads prevailed for most of the day. That's not fun. I need some fights. Come on. Ayuk, Debo, Marcus Peters, Crosby, someone. That's fun. Maturity, I guess. We don't want maturity in our football. On violence. On some nastiness. Set the tone for the season. Well, I'm pretty confident one of these teams will be pretty physical throughout the season, be pretty good. That being the San Francisco 49ers. Raiders might have a chance. Kyle Shanahan actually thought he saw some good stuff from him. From them, I should say. But he's probably just blowing smoke up. You know what? Try to get inside their domes. That's what you got to do. But nonetheless, a good day, surprisingly. Maybe not surprising to some Niner fans. Jimmy Garoppolo looked very good in joint practices yesterday. Was the best quarterback. All the beat writers from both the Raiders and the Niners were saying yesterday. Had a nice touchdown drive against the Niners' first-team defense on 11-11s. Plus, he drew a DPI in the end zone after throwing the touchdown. So that's like an and one in football. So Jimmy Garoppolo. Niner fans are going to be monitoring what he's doing this season. Maybe not the forefront, maybe the side and back of their minds a little bit. You're going to be checking in on your boy Jimmy G, Niner fans. That's what I want to know. 888-957-9570. And if you are, we pulling for him or we rooting against him? That's pretty much all I saw on the timeline yesterday was praising Jimmy from a lot of Niner fans and also crushing him at the same time. Oh, he'll fail. Just watch. He'll explode. He'll implode. Explode. So it's going to be very interesting from the fan perspective how they're going to digest this. Because if Brock Purdy turns back into, because we've only seen him have success in the NFL. But let's say the injury takes longer than expected to come back from. He's rusty. He's not the best this year. It's possible. I'm sure there will be a segment of 49er fans being like, you know what? We had Jimmy Garoppolo all this time. As long as he stays healthy, we were in the NFC Championship games. We just book it. But ultimately, that was the problem, right? You couldn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy. That's why you moved on from him. That's why you got Trey Lance. Why you drafted the future in Trey Lance. Amongst other reasons. I don't think Kyle Shanahan was super into the idea of Jimmy Garoppolo as his long-term quarterback. He was good. He was solid. And we're going to hear from Kyle Shanahan talking about his former quarterback here in a second. But that was ultimately the reason they moved on, was health. Guy couldn't stay healthy throughout an entire season. Whether you want to say he's injury prone or not, semantics at this point. The guy wasn't finishing seasons. You can't have that in the NFL if you hope to win a Super Bowl. The Nick Foleses of the world, it's just once in a lifetime kind of a thing. Just doesn't happen. So you moved off from Jimmy. You got Brock Purdy. You're going to see if he could stay healthy this entire season. Because if he could stay healthy this whole season, I think he's got a great chance to lead this team to a Super Bowl, just given how he played last season. If I'm going by off what I saw last year, Brock Purdy gives this team the best chance to win right now. Now, if he's hurt, goes down, Trey Lance has to take over, I am curious to see the potential of this offense improve even. Because say what you will about how well Brock Purdy played last year, and he played well. If you're just watching all these joint practices, you're watching training camp, whatever, Trey Lance has been popping from most of the beat writers. You could see the athleticism. You could see the improvements that Trey Lance has been working on with his throwing motion. The touch, if you will. I won't say accuracy, but the deep ball accuracy has been better. Still missing on the easy throws, and that ultimately is what's going to keep him back. That's going to be the thing. You got to hit the layups. And if you're Trey Lance and you get the opportunity and you miss those easy layups for a touchdown or a first down, and it's a drive staller, you're going to be packing your bags. Whether that's via trade, whether that's getting cut. He has got to hit the layups. So here's Kyle Shanahan talking yesterday. First off, an injury update on his kick returner, Ray McLeod.
Ray broke his wrist last practice, so he'll be some time. We won't know for sure till they go to surgery. They always say around 8 weeks at that time. Could be a little less. Hopefully it is. We'll see. I think he's getting surgery Friday.
He's getting surgery Friday, that being Ray McLeod. More from Kyle Shanahan, and that's too bad. Does that open an opportunity for a guy like a Danny Gray?
He was sore today, and so we thought it was too much of a risk to go because we thought he would have got hurt, so we didn't have him go, so hopefully he should be better tomorrow. We try all our guys that return. Danny may be a little more of a kickoff guy than a punt return guy, but yeah, we do. It doesn't happen much. But kickoffs are a little easier to catch. Punt is a different deal. So you got to make sure first and foremost that you got a guy out there who's comfortable with it. We know we have that. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk is one of the most comfortable natural punt return catchers there is. But hopefully we have a few other guys before our fullback is out there. But yeah, he can do it too. So it'll be an open competition, and it'll be fun to watch.
Will be an open competition and be fun to watch. Again, if you're just joining us here on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni, Ray McLeod, the kick and punt returner for the San Francisco 49ers, out at least 8 weeks with a broken wrist. Tough. Some other injury notes and news from yesterday. Kittle out at least a week with an adductor strain, and we all are aware of what that is, with Andrew Wiggins getting one last season. It's a groin area. That's cause for concern. Dre Greenlaw, hamstring injury. He didn't return yesterday. Aaron Banks, they said he was just getting some rest, some, bumps and bruises, if you will. Drake Jackson, another one there, not participating with an injury there. So, injury bug, again, we keep talking about it with the 49ers. That's the only thing that's been keeping this team from getting to their ultimate goal, I believe, is winning that Super Bowl. And I don't know what it is, if it's bad luck, what have you. It seems to be something every single season with this team. Not saying it's not for other teams. It's the NFL. It's professional sports. People get hurt. But more so than any other team, it feels like this team specifically under Kyle Shanahan gets, I'm going to say snake bit, but man, just extremely unlucky when it comes to certain injuries. But they've been able to push through. Hell, they were in the NFC Championship game last year on their third quarterback. So I will give Kyle Shanahan credit there. He doesn't make the excuses when it comes to the injuries. He finds solutions. And it's worked so far. But they need the big guys to stay healthy. The Dre Greenlaws, George Kittles, they can't afford to stay not healthy there. Drake Jackson, he needs to be that second guy. Or at least someone needs to step up if and when Nick Bosa returns. They need a number 2 DN. When you get drafted that high out of USC, you're Drake Jackson, you'd hope to be that dude. Now it could be a one-off. We'll see. But that's another position I'm looking forward to in these joint practices and training camp moving forward. Who's going to be that number 2 guy to step up outside of Nick Bosa on the end? Drake Jackson, Cleve Furl looked good in practice yesterday, according to some. A nice burst there. He has something to prove against his old team. Maybe he'll get a sack in this preseason on Sunday. So we shall see. 888-957-9570. What are you looking forward to today on the second day of joint practices down in Henderson, Nevada? Here's Kyle Shanahan's thoughts on how the first joint practice went.
Yeah, I enjoy seeing all our guys against other people because we just get sick of the same stuff over and over again, the same style D-line, the same coverages. So it's always fun to go out and do new things. One-on-one's a lot more fun. Not everyone's so used to each other and how they do it, so it's kind of a new day. We'll see how they adjust tomorrow, but that's why we like doing this stuff. It's a fine line because it sometimes gets a little more physical and things like that, and you never want to get guys hurt. And I was really glad how both teams handled it today. I thought it was a smooth practice and helps both teams get better.
Helps both teams get better. That's ultimately what the joint practices are about. Kyle Shanahan there talking to the media. All right. Well, the talk of yesterday, though, was not really about joint practice, because it's fine. It was about the article that Mike Silver wrote for the San Francisco Chronicle. Mike Silver covers the team for the San Francisco Chronicle. Does a hell of a job, formerly of NFL Network, Sports Illustrated. Cal Bear. He had a one-on-one with quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and, had some hard truths discussed. One being, at the end of the season last year, postseason, final presser, hey, do you envision Jimmy Garoppolo coming back? No, I don't. And Mike Silver asked Jimmy about that. He's like, did you see that? What did you make of Kyle Shanahan just completely dismissing your future there as a 49er? He's like, kind of caught me by surprise. My buddy sent it to me in a video. I was like, okay, wow. But I'm a Raider now, so he did his normal coach speak and quarterback speak, if you will. And Jimmy's become a pro at that. He learned from the pro himself, Tom Brady. But Kyle Shanahan was asked about it yesterday at his post-practice presser. And take a listen.
I think Jimmy was unbelievable for us. We won lots of games. I think that was a simple question. Is there a scenario where he'll be back here next year? And I gave a common sense answer, and no. I think that was a little overblown on trying to be a shot at him or anything. I mean, we knew Jimmy wasn't coming back on his standpoint and our standpoint, financially and everything. So that was just the common sense answer. But anytime I've been asked about Jimmy and what he meant to us and how he was, I've never said it differently. So Jimmy was unbelievable here. I think he was the best quarterback here in about 20 years since Steve Young. Has an unbelievable record, and every time he played and stayed healthy, we were either in the Super Bowl or NFC Championship game. So I hope no one insinuates I've ever said differently.
The best quarterback the 49ers have had since Steve Young. I'd say that's probably right. I mean, the best peak was probably Kaepernick, right? Because he was so damn good, but it was a flash in the pan. And we'll see if Jimmy Garoppolo is a flash in the pan per se. Because this is a huge year for him to prove that he wasn't just a product of the scheme of the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. He's going to prove that he's a winner in his own right, not just because of Kyle. So Kyle Shanahan there kind of, saying, no, I was just being real. He wasn't coming back. What do you want me to say? Want me to sugarcoat it? It is what it is. I wasn't taking a shot. Okay. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo, after practice yesterday, talking about, catching up with Purdy, the experience him with last year, and a lot more. Here's James Garoppolo himself talking about last season.
Brock was a cool dude, on and off the field. He really, as a rookie, he was pretty quiet off the get-go, but he started to open up towards the end, especially once he started playing. We got to talk it up a little bit out there today, so he sounded like he was doing good. Yeah, it was fun. Just first play, Dre was talking. He's got things going right away, but those are my brothers. I love those guys, so we had a good time out there competing. So
they had a good time out there competing. Again, no one could do quarterback speak like Jimmy Garoppolo. The amount of just fun to compete, always compete. I think he uses the word compete in every single one of these responses, which is fine because that's what you're doing ultimately. But it is funny just to see certain words and phrases that quarterbacks and coaches consistently use to really not answer the question that's being asked and completely sidestep. I'm not saying they're sidestepping it. They're just, the genericness of it all is just so funny to me. Here's more from Jimmy Garoppolo talking about Purdy. More from him, and Brock saying that he looked up to Jimmy last year, and Jimmy's thoughts on it. That's cool to hear. That was kind of one thing I always take pride in, just how the guys see you, how you interact with them. You don't want to be that quarterback that's separated from the whole team and doing your own thing. I've always wanted to be one of the guys, and it's kind of how I go about my business. Being one of the guys, and what that means is, your teammates have your respect. They respect the quarterback. And one thing we can say about Jimmy Garoppolo's time here in Santa Clara is he had the respect of those guys in the locker room, the George Kittles, the Kyle Juszczyks, the Fred Warner Jr.'s, Debo, all those guys. He had the respect of those men in that locker room. And how do you earn that respect? Being tough. And he played through a lot of injuries in his time here. Some he couldn't play through. It ultimately was the reason why they didn't go on to the playoffs or win a Super Bowl, some say. Well, here's Jimmy talking about pushing himself too hard to return last season. Sort of, yeah. It was my choosing. It was I wanted to do that because I knew if something like the NFC Championship game did happen, I wanted to be out there, and whatever. It's all in the past now. Things worked out the way they did, and I'm happy with how it all worked out. It was wild, man. I was doing my thing, trying to get my foot ready. That didn't work out, how I wished it would have. But those guys going through 3 quarterbacks and still making it to the NFC Championship game. That's damn impressive for a team. So I know Niners. They got a great team and everything. We had a great time. It's on to Vegas now. But yeah, I treasure those times. Those were good times. Do 49er fans treasure those times? 888-957-9570. You should. I think Jimmy Garoppolo was a symbol of respectability back to that franchise. Once you brought him in, there was a level of expectation that finally returned. A playoff and Super Bowl expectation that finally returned to a franchise that's won 5 Super Bowls, that's used to being there, that has been there multiple times within the past decade plus now. It's 2013. So for all the Niner fans that are glad to be moving on from Jimmy. I get it. Ultimately, he didn't win the prize and the ultimate goal with him, so it was, in that case, a failure. But he did bring and help usher in a level of respectability to this franchise that I think can't be undervalued or underrated. He helped bring this organization, along with Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, all of them. It was a group effort, team project. Got to get that A on that science paper. I was the king at that, by the way. Sliding in last week after, all the other people in the group have been working on it for the last month. But hey, why don't I type up the essay or whatever it has to be, the paper form. You guys can worry about the arts and crafts portion on your trifold Elmer's glue board. Because one thing I can do, I'm not very creative when it comes to the arts and crafts and the presentation boards, the PowerPoints. I write a hell of an essay. That's probably why I'm in Sports Talk Radio. BS with the BSers, Was that Role Models? Jane Lynch? God, another classic. Paul Rudd. As I digress here on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni. 888-957-9570 is the number. We're talking joint practices. We're talking Jimmy Garoppolo, Raiders, Niners. Day 2 of joint practices down in Henderson, Nevada begin today. Not super hot yesterday. It was good to see. 85 degrees, which, again, with some humidity out there, looked like they had some rain clouds. So probably still toasty, but get some cloud coverage. Not a bad thing when you're in the desert of Las Vegas. Good morning to all of you on Twitch and YouTube, which is again powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Search 95.7 The Game, like and subscribe there. So we heard from Shanahan. We heard from Garoppolo. No hard feelings. It is what it is. Now here's QB1 for yesterday and probably week 1. Brock Purdy talking about his relationship with Jimmy Garoppolo last year. Take a listen.
At our lockers and stuff, we would, just talk about life and things that he's been through with football and myself. And then obviously just like the biggest thing for me was just, sort of observing. Obviously at practice, yes, but like even in the locker room, how he's talking to guys and interacting with guys in the locker room. So whether he knows that or not, I learned a lot from him. And I'm very appreciative of that. But yeah, I think our relationship's great. We never really had much time to go out, outside of football and hang out or anything like that. But we do have a good relationship and can talk and catch up on a lot of good things.
More from Purdy here talking about if he wants to play in the preseason. Now, Shanahan said he's not going to play in this week's preseason game. Probably not as it is, but will he play at all in the preseason? Take a listen.
I think eventually be able to get to that point. Yeah, I don't think, there's a necessity to do it like this week or anything like that. I still, getting my 11 on 11 reps at practice, getting on, my timing and everything down with the receivers and as a whole. So, eventually, hopefully we can get to a point where we can talk about that.
I think it's important at some point to play in this preseason. If not this week, following week, the week after that, week 2, week 3. Usually it's not week 3, obviously week before week 1. But he needs to play. He needs to get some in-game reps against legit defenses in the NFL. I know it's preseason. They're not going to be smoking you and stuff like that, but I don't know if you watched some of the games last night. Some hard hits going on. Kobe Bryant, RIP, but the other Kobe Bryant out in Seattle just absolutely laying the wood on God knows who for the Minnesota Vikings. But my goodness. Football's back, ladies and gentlemen. Seahawks won, by the way, 24-13. I'm not worried about the Seahawks. Real quick, just taking a macro view of the NFC West, as the Cardinals are probably going to be the worst team in the league. Many say they are. Rams, we'll see. I'm not expecting big things out of them. Maybe 6 or 7 wins, if that. But many would say the Seahawks are the main, division rival and have been throughout the last decade plus for the San Francisco 49ers. They've had ownage on the division. But when you lose twice, get swept last year like the Seattle Seahawks did, and you lose to 3 different quarterbacks, yeah, don't get it twisted. They lost to Jimmy Garoppolo, who came in relief of Trey Lance, who started that first game in week 2. And then you had Brock Purdy in the, second to last week, whatever it was, of the regular season. Just go up to Seattle with a injured oblique, whatever it was, and get the job done. Mr. Irrelevant. So you lost to 3 different 49ers quarterbacks last season. Not to say I don't respect them. I do. I don't see them outside of an injuries, which, as we know, can happen. Outside of a major injury for the 49ers, I do not see the Seattle Seahawks winning this division. Now, the NFC is not as stacked as the AFC, so they'll probably still make a wild card. But the division, I am still very skeptical on the Seattle Seahawks. Also, Geno Smith. All this talk about do it again, Brock Purdy. But do it again, Geno Smith. It was the best season of his life. Now, he's more polished than Purdy. I'll say that. He's had more ups and downs than Brock Purdy. Maybe he's more, gone through the mentals more than Brock at this point. But he's still only had one really good year. So, for all this skepticism we have about Brock, and rightfully so, I still have the same when it comes to Geno Smith and replicating what he did last season. But he got paid. Happy for that. Love to see guys getting paid. Get what you can. But let's see it from Geno again before we're crowning these Seattle Seahawks as, playoff contenders already. 888-957-9570. That is the number to weigh in here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni. We're talking 49ers. We're talking NFL preseason. And we had a debut last night for one of the top quarterbacks picked in last year's draft. This past season, I should say. A couple months ago. CJ Stroud. So, are we ready to throw dirt on him? After a 2-for-4 for 13 yards? Didn't look great. He's a bust. He's done. Can't hang. Game seems too fast for him. You can't slow it down. Let's relax. It's one game in the preseason. He threw the ball 4 times. For the love of God. Can we not? And I can't wait. And we're going to do it on Monday. I'm going to be guilty of it. The overreaction to preseason just gets you ready for the overreactions you're going to have during the regular season, which would be time 1,000. So we'll get into that on the other side. 888-957-9570 is the number. It's the pregame show, Joe Spadoni, on a Phil Collins Friday. 95.7 The Game.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose.
95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. It is the pregame show. Joe Spadoni on a Phil Collins Friday. So many bangers from Phil and Genesis. Come on. How can you not play them every single Friday? Two Hearts. Beating at just one time. Together forever. Till the end of time. Is that how Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo were feeling yesterday? Apparently they didn't say hi. Because they were on opposite sides of the field or whatever. The offense going up against the defense. Vice versa. Shanny obviously paying attention more to his team's offense. A lot of media complaining yesterday I saw about the not the conditions, but maybe the conditions for the media having to view practice. Raiders don't make it the easiest, but that's been the thing now since they moved to Vegas for the last few years. If you've been covering the team, you follow the Vic Tafers of the world, does a hell of a job covering the Raiders for The Athletic, the Chashawn Reeds as well. You'll know. You'll see it. They have to have their little binoculars out there. Raiders don't like them getting too close to the live reps, if you will. So some of the Niners media did not appreciate that, I guess. It is what it is. I don't know. Not going to dive too deep into that, having not been down to that camp. Sure, it's very toasty, not very comfortable having to put binoculars up constantly. Very sweaty, I'm sure. But it is what it is. 888-957-9570. We've been talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy. You know, are you going to be paying attention to what Jimmy's doing this year with the Raiders, Niner fans? Do you care if he succeeds or fails with them? Do you feel validation for Kyle Shanahan? There's lots of interesting angles when you're a fan of a certain player, a certain team, right? You're seeing it now with a lot of Raider fans. Similarly, with Derek Carr going to the Saints. It's like, do we root for him? Do we not root for him? Do I got to do this? I was like, I don't like having to root for other people to fail unless they're bad people. Like if you're a bad individual person, you've done really bad things off the field, then yes, I will root against you. Outside of that, rooting for someone to lose, it takes a lot out of you individually. It's like hate watching something. It's very difficult. Very difficult. I was doing that during the Super Bowl because Raider fan, obviously, watching the Chiefs. I was like, oh, God, we're going to do it again. But as I've gotten older, the hate watching has kind of just dissipated and it's become more appreciation for greatness. Like it's sports hate at the end of the day. It's not real hate. But you could also appreciate, see what I'm doing there? Greatness when you see it. And Patrick Mahomes, what he did was just greatness personified. It is what it is. Screw the next decade, as the Xfinity Mobile text line 408. As a Raider fan, Jimmy G sucks. The season's already over. God, I love football. I love football so much. Season's not over. You see what he did yesterday to that Niners first team defense? Y'all see what he did? James Garoppolo torched him. Eat your heart out, Fred Warner. Jimmy G throwing dimes. No Nick Bosa. Dre Greenlaw left early. I get it. Can only go who's out there. Can only go against who's out there, you know? Jimmy, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers, Devontae, Austin Hooper. Whew. You know, fantasy stock. You know, a lot of people thought Devontae's was taking a dive after they moved on from Derek and brought in Jimmy. I don't know. Barely threw a bomb yesterday. Maybe for Jimmy, it's not quite a bomb. Maybe it's like a, I don't know, grenade. But at the end of the day, I'm rooting for him to succeed. If he doesn't, and you're a Raider fan, and they lose and they stink, well, you can just, you know, root for the tanking, I guess, and try to get Caleb Williams. Which, would it be the worst thing? I just don't think they're going to be as bad as they need to be. There's some teams out there, as we look around the NFL, a macro view of it. The Bucs, I don't think are going to be very good with Baker Mayfield. And you see his comments yesterday? Someone asked him or compared him with Tom Brady or something. And Baker's like, yeah, I'm not built like him. And he's right. Like, no one's built like Tom Brady. He's one of one, greatest quarterback in the history of the game. Maybe the greatest player in the history of the game. There's only one TB12. And Baker's like, yeah, that's not me. Hey, kudos to him for being honest. So the Bucks I'm looking at. Texans maybe again. We'll see. Again, CJ Stroud played last night. Didn't look great. It's one game in the preseason. He could look good in game 2, and everyone's changing everything. Oh, my goodness. The game finally slowed down after one game. Let's relax. Preseason is just so funny to me because I look at all the quarterbacks that have flourished the last few seasons that did not look great in preseason. Maybe they showed a flash here or there. Like Justin Herbert. Was he doing anything in preseason to put himself over the top against Tyrod Taylor? Tyrod. No, he changed it there. Is it Tyrod now? But Taylor was the guy until he got his lung punctured, and that was the history of that. And bye-bye Tyrod Taylor. Hello, Justin Herbert. He's going to get paid. Did get paid. So you could see things here or there in the preseason that the coaching staff will still be like, whatever. Although we're talking Raiders and joint practices with the 49ers. And again, second day of joint practices down in Henderson, Nevada. There, we're talking about it all day right here on 95.7 The Game. Derek Carr, famously, didn't light him up, but played pretty well against the Legion of Boom, their first team down at the Coliseum when the Seahawks and Raiders played a preseason his rookie year. Remember, they brought in Matt Schaub, thought that was going to be the guy, wasn't, and then Derek ended up starting that entire season. So weird things can happen. You never know. You never know. What's going to happen this Sunday at Allegiant Stadium? Who's going to get in the bulk of those reps? Is it going to be Trey Lance the first quarter, Sam Darnold the second quarter, and then Brandon Allen for a half? That's what I think it's going to be, and probably what it should be. What say you? 888-957-9570. Do you want to see, Sam Darnold and Trey just take turns with the halves? Because Trey needs to play at the end of the day. It may signal to a lot of fans, or it's like, oh, they're playing a lot of Trey Lance. That means they don't think much of him. No, they're playing him so much because he just needs the reps. He needs to get the feel of live in-game reps. Same with Sam Darnold in this offense. Brandon Allen, I could care less. Could care less. Oh, I know. I'm going to get the texters. Sorry. Xfinity Mobile text line. Actually, Spadoni, it's could not care less. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Again, it's not an English major. Broadcasting and electronic communications. But if you're communicating on the air, you should get your words right. I know. Lay off. It's 5:40 a.m. on a Friday. It's a Phil Collins Friday. Don't make me angry. Xfinity Mobile text line. Because usually you're very nice. I can take it. I just don't want to leave the show angry. I have a bad taste in my mouth over the weekend. Don't want that. 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll take more of your calls and texts on the other side, as well as your comments on Twitch and YouTube. Again, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Search 95.7 The Game, like and subscribe, and also be sure to download that Odyssey app. The Crossover with Joe Chassis is coming up next, right here, 95.7 The Game.
It's
Welcome back. Pre-game show. Phil Collins Friday. Joe Spadoni. One last segment before tossing over to the morning roast. I'm sure we'll be all over these joint practices taking place down in Nevada. Niners, Raiders. Second day of those joint practices today down in Henderson, Nevada, before their showdown this Sunday at Allegiant Stadium for preseason game 1. And as you all know, Allegiant Stadium, home of this year's Super Bowl. So will the first and last games be here for the 49ers? We shall see. That's the quest. That's the hope. Quest for 6, they still doing that? The quest continues. It's been more of like a side quest at this point. Shout out World of Warcraft. For the Horde. Nerding out here on a Friday morning because we can do that. We can talk about whatever you want. It's a nice thing about this show. You know, I do a lot of local stuff, but I have the honor and privilege to talk about whatever the hell I want. Not a lot of shows can say that. Can't say it. We could talk about World of Warcraft. We could talk about what you're doing this week and what movies you're seeing. Is the Barbenheimer thing over now? We kind of moved on from that. What's the next big movie coming out? What are we seeing? 888-957-9570. What are you doing this weekend? That's what we like to ask here on the pregame show on a Friday. Hit us up at 888-957-9570. Call or text the Xfinity mobile text line and hit us up on Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. So, but talk a lot of different storylines as it pertains to the 49ers, the Raiders, NFC West, AFC West, you know, Garoppolo, Shanahan. I want to take a quick break here, and we'll get back to the Niners in a sec. But something stumbled across my feed, and it's always fun. You know, freezing cold takes, if you're not following them on X or whatever social media platform, it's all-timer. I'm sure most of you know what it is by now. It's basically just bad takes that people have had, and it's just compiled and retweeted and re-X'd, sorry. We'll get there. We'll get there. Is that X sign still there, by the way? The top of the building? Did they get rid of that? I know there were some complaints. Way too bright. But this stumbled across my feed today at Old Takes Exposed. August 11th, 2008. Man, 15 years ago. Beijing Olympics. Men's Olympic 4x100 freestyle relay final in Beijing. It's the second of Michael Phelps' 8 gold medals. And let Dan Hicks of NBC and Rowdy Gaines take it away on the call for this magical moment in sports.
The Americans have to win gold in here if Phelps is to keep his hopes alive of surpassing Mark Spitz in the greatest Olympics ever. When Spitz won 7 gold medals. And there is the French team there. They are the favorites, and they had been doing some talking. Alain Bernard, their world record holder in the 100 free, earlier told a newspaper, well, what about the Americans? We're going to smash them. That's what we came here for. It's going to take a lot, realistically, for the United States to outtouch France.
How many times have I broken this down, Dan, over the last 2 weeks? Every time I do it, it comes out France.
The United States try to hang on to second. They should get the silver medal. Australia is in bronze territory right now, but Lezak is closing a little bit on Bernard. Can the veteran chase him down and pull off a shocker here? Well, there's no doubt that he's tightening up. Bernard is losing some ground. Here comes Lezak. Unbelievable at the end. He's done it. The U.S. has done it. He did it. He did it. He did it. Phelps' hopes alive.
All-time call there. Dan Hicks, NBC Sports, the Olympics, 2008 Beijing, U.S. taking out the French. Oh, what a smug comment. They're going to smash us. Ha! You thought wrong.
USA!
Thank you, Yonder. One more time.
USA!
15 years ago today. That Michael Phelps run, that was an all-timer. I mean, might have been the greatest stretch in the history of sports, right? All the gold medals he ended up winning, 8, breaking Mark Spitz's record of 7 at the time. Man, So just wanted to play that. Memory lane there. 15 years ago today. And we could talk about, some of the greatest performances of all time. And I love when it's a team-based thing like that, when every single one of those swimmers had to step up in the relay. And it's not the sexiest thing to watch. I've been to many a swim meet for friends, family, all that sort of stuff. It's not the funnest thing to be a part of. But that particular one, the Olympics, the big timers, all time. 888-957-9570. Other sports moments that, maybe slept on that really get you excited. Like, that's one for me where I stumbled across it. I was like, man, that was a really badass freaking moment in sports that kind of gets swept under the rug. Olympics, I get it. Hasn't been as sexy in the last decade or so. But that particular one, that was the Redeem Team year too. Like, there was a lot of special things happening in that Olympic run. It felt like USA was putting their stamp back on the sports world in 2008. At least for me, it felt like that. USA basketball, the swimming, everything. Beach volleyball as well. I'm pulling a Bonte. Forget their names, but they'll know who I am when I'm talking about them. Man. We got, is it Winter Olympics this year? We got Winter Olympics? When's that coming? Winter Olympics. 2026. Oh, we just had it. I forgot already. When's the Summer Olympics? That's coming up soon, right? Next year? That just happened too? Summer Olympics. Next year. There we go. France, right? Paris? Beautiful. Can't wait for that. That one, that's right. We got the FIBA championship coming up. We're starting to get ready. Steve Kerr, head coach of the team. That's all coming back to me now. Sorry, we're talking about Olympic sports and what it used to mean. Felt like it was way bigger back in 2008. Or maybe I was just at a different place in my life. High school, maybe it just meant more. Gotten older and it's just kind of lost its allure. Maybe the pandemic didn't help out with that. Obviously, it being in Japan during that whole pandemic thing, they didn't really have any fans watching, so just kind of disassociated with many of us there, I'm sure. But next season, can't wait. Is Steph going to play in that one? We're going to have, who's going to be playing in those Olympic Games for the Warriors? From the Warriors, I should say. We know Steve Kerr is going to be the coach. Does Steph, at his age, try to get that one Olympic gold medal and add it to his already amazing career? We shall see. We shall see. 888-957-9570. Or is he going to be coming off a championship and doesn't have the time? Woo-hoo! By the way, speaking of the NBA, we got some Christmas Day matchups announced. We got opening day matchups announced. Opening night, October 24th. We got Lakers at the defending champs for game one of that doubleheader. So Lakers Nuggets. And then the nightcap, Suns at Golden State Warriors. Is this finally, are we finally going to get Kevin Durant at Chase Center playing? I think we are. And oh yeah, you're going to play with your former teammate, KD, and Chris Paul. That's going to be fascinating. Lakers, Nuggets, Suns, Warriors. Cannot wait. And then Christmas, oh boy. We got Bucks, Knicks, Sixers, Heat. All right. I'll sleep through those first two games probably. Have some nice eggnog. Then you got Celtics, Lakers. Okay, I'm intrigued. Mavericks, Suns. All right, Luka. Hey. And then cap it all off at night. You got Warriors, Nuggets. Woo! That's going to be the late game too. And as you know, on Christmas, Niners are taking on the Ravens. That's going to be that NBC game at 5:15, whatever it is, kickoff. So, got to pick your poison there a little bit. There's going to be some overlapping. But, come on, in today's age, you just dual screen it. Sorry. I've already done my obligations, honey. I've already hung out with the kids. We already did all the gifts, all this. It's my time. All right? I'm vegging out on the couch, having some prime rib, some horseradish there, whatever your delicacy, what you guys eat on Christmas, maybe some cioppino. That's what I'm getting locked into. I can't wait for Christmas Day. Can't wait. 888-957-9570. What are you most looking forward to in the sports calendar? Is it already opening day in the NFL? Because we're less than 4 weeks now from opening day, Thursday. I know opening day is weird to say. Opening night, whatever you want to call it. Less than 4 weeks away from the NFL season. Man, we got second days of joint practices today down in Henderson, Nevada. What's the storyline? What are the matchups you were intrigued by? You know, Brock Purdy threw a pick yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo dicing up that defense. Are you worried, Niner fans? Did you let one get away? I'm kidding. But joint practices, this is great. It's a good learning experience for Brock Purdy, who's coming back from that elbow surgery, obviously. How's it going to look in these live game reps? Here's Brock again, if you missed it, talking after the game, after practice, on if he wants to play in the preseason.
I think eventually be able to get to that point. Yeah, I don't think, there's a necessity to do it like this week or anything like that. I still, getting my 11 on 11 reps at practice, getting on, my timing and everything down with the receivers and as a whole. So, eventually, hopefully we can get to a point where we can talk about that.
Get to a point where we can talk about that. So, not going to be this Sunday. Hopefully, next week. What are they playing? Niners on their preseason schedule. Niners preseason schedule. So they're at Levi's next Saturday, taking on the Denver Broncos, who are going to see some Sean Payton, Russell Wilson action. And then they got one more at Levi's Friday, August 25th, but that's usually the tune-up. Don't usually play in those ones, your starters, your big boys. Looking to see who's going to be on that practice squad, if you will, who's going to make some final cut decisions. And now there's no 2 days now. It's just one cut day in the NFL. There's not two, just one. So get into all of that. We're going to have a game to react to on Monday, and that's the next time you'll hear from me on the pregame show coming up Monday. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely weekend. Be safe, have fun, do the right thing. 888-957-9570. That's the number for the morning roast. Bonta and Shasta coming up next right here on 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This your captain. Better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I went to Staples, got a passport photo lickety-split. While I was there, I grabbed some tiny travel soap and shampoo. I should have got some for my co-pilot. Just kidding, Brad.
Staples has everything for travel. 10-minute passport photos, luggage, headphones, even personal travel items. And now at Staples, get $10 off your purchase of $30 or more when you buy a travel service. Staples, your first stop to nonstop travel. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Exclusions apply.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching